Welcome to Circuit Masterclass, your go-to channel for everything in power systems, transmission, and distribution engineering. Don't forget to check out circuitmasterclass.com for in-depth blogs and bonus content. We have provided the website link below in the description. Let's get started. Vector diagram or phasor diagram of a transformer. First, we will consider an ideal transformer. An ideal transformer has one magnetic core, one primary winding, and one secondary winding. These windings do not have any resistance. In the case of an ideal transformer, all the flux created due to the magnetizing current will entirely link with both windings. Entirely linked means there will be no flux lines passing through the air. In other words, the flux will only pass through the core portion of the transformer, and every flux line will completely link with the windings. Therefore, there will be no leakage flux. This is the first condition of an ideal transformer. There should not be any resistance in both windings. There should not be any leakage reactance in the windings. That means resistance R equals 0 and reactance X equals 0. Another condition of an ideal transformer is that there will not be any core loss. Suppose we apply a voltage V1 across the primary terminal of the transformer. For that, only the magnetizing current will start flowing through the coil. The magnetizing current is the current that magnetizes the core while the secondary winding is kept open. Now, let us come to the practical aspect of the transformer. First, consider the core loss. When the transformer secondary is open and a sinusoidal voltage is applied across the primary, a sinusoidal current starts flowing to the primary winding. This current is very small compared to the full load current of the transformer. For an ideal transformer, this current would be the magnetizing current only. But practically, the current will be a little more than the pure magnetizing current. Why is this current more? Because although the secondary is open, the primary still draws additional current from the supply to compensate for the core losses, such as hysteresis loss and eddy current loss. Due to this, there will be a wattage loss in the transformer. Let this wattage loss component of current be denoted as IW. The magnetizing current is denoted as mu. The magnetizing current lags the applied voltage V1 by 90 degrees. The core loss component IW is in phase with the applied voltage. Therefore, at no load condition, the total current drawn by the transformer is the vector sum of it as mu and IW. This total current is called the no-load current, denoted as I0. So I0 equals vector sum of mu and IW. The angle between the no-load current I0 and the supply voltage V1 is theta 0. Hence, I0 cosine theta 0 equals IW, core loss component of the no-load current. I0 sine theta 0 equals mu, magnetizing component of the no-load current. Now, we will connect the load across the secondary terminal of the transformer. As soon as we connect the load, secondary current starts flowing through it because an induced voltage is established at the secondary terminals due to electromagnetic induction. Let the secondary current be I2. Because of I2, a secondary flux will be produced in the core. This is because whenever a current circulates through a coil, flux is produced, but the flux produced due to the secondary current will be opposed by the primary. The primary winding will draw more current from the source to produce a counterflux so that it can nullify this secondary flux. As a result, an additional current starts flowing through the primary. The secondary flux and the counterflux from the primary nullify each other. Then, only the magnetizing flux remains in the core. Now think in terms of ampere turns. The secondary flux corresponds to ampere turns equal to N2 times I2, where N2 is the number of turns of the secondary winding. Similarly, the counter flux produced by the primary corresponds to ampere turns equal to N₁ times I₁, where N₁ is the number of turns of the primary winding. So, for balance, N₁ times I₁ equals N2 times I2. This gives the relation I₁ slash I2 equals N2 slash N₁. Therefore, the transformer draws two types of current from the primary source. The current which produces counter flux to oppose the secondary flux. Now, we are denoting this current as I₁, but when we shall consider the no-load current soon, we shall denote it as I₁' to distinguish it from the actual primary current. That actual primary current we shall denote as I₁ then. The no-load current, which compensates for the core losses and produces the magnetizing flux in the core. Ideally, the transformer transforms current from I₁ to I2, but practically, the transformer takes a little more current. The actual primary current is the vector sum of the current corresponding to the secondary and the no-load component. So, the total primary current I₁ equals I₁' plus I0, where I₁' is the component balancing the secondary current and I0 is the no-load current consisting of magnetizing current plus core loss component. Now consider the winding resistance. Both windings will have their own resistances. Let R1 be the resistance of the primary winding and R2 be the resistance of the secondary winding. Since windings are made of copper, they will always have inherent resistance, and the connecting leads will also have some contact resistance. These cannot be avoided. So transformer windings always have resistance. Now suppose we apply a voltage V1 across the primary terminal of the transformer and connect a load at the secondary. Both primary current and secondary current flow. The total primary current is I₁ equals I₁' plus I0. Due to this current, there will be resistive drops in the windings. In the primary winding, the voltage drop is I₁ times R1. In the secondary winding, the voltage drop is I2 times R2. Therefore, the induced voltage across the primary winding, denoted as E1, is slightly lower than the applied voltage V1 since V1 equals E1 plus I1 times R1. Similarly, in the secondary winding, the induced voltage is E2, but the terminal voltage across the load is V2 equals E2 minus I2 times R2. Now consider another practical aspect. In an ideal transformer, all the flux links both coils. But practically, there will always be some leakage flux that does not link with the other winding. This leakage flux passes through air instead of the core. Because of this leakage flux, the transformer exhibits leakage reactance. Due to leakage reactance, there will be an additional reactive voltage drop. This reactive drop is represented as Jx1 times I1 in the primary, where x1 is the leakage reactance of the primary. This drop lags the resistive drop by 90 degrees. Hence, the applied voltage V1 is the vector sum of three quantities: the induced IMF across the primary winding E1, the resistive drop I1 times R1, the reactive drop Jx1 times I1. Here, you see previously we had denoted this vector as V1, but now we are denoting it as E1. This is because previously we had not considered the resistance and reactance in the windings. Therefore, there was no voltage drop. Hence, the supply voltage equaled the primary induced voltage across the winding. But now we have voltage drops, so the induced voltage across the winding is different from the supply voltage and this is less than the supply voltage V1. Similarly, in the secondary winding, there will be both resistive and reactive drops along with the induced EMF. In the secondary winding, the induced EMF across the secondary winding will also be dropped by a resistive voltage drop, which is along the secondary current and is denoted as I2 multiplied by R2. There will also be a reactive voltage drop, denoted as JX2 multiplied by I2, which lags the resistive voltage drop by 90 degrees. Therefore, the ultimate voltage that appears across the load will be the difference between the induced voltage across the winding and the sum of the resistive voltage drop and the reactive voltage drop. So we can say V1 is equal to E1 plus R1 multiplied by I1 plus JX1 multiplied by I1. Similarly, E2 is equal to V2 plus R2 multiplied by I2 plus JX2 multiplied by I2. Hope you got the idea. Thank you.
If you found this helpful, don't forget to subscribe, like, and tap the notification bell. Got questions or want us to cover a specific topic? Leave a comment. Thank you.